Hey, sometimes shit's necessary. Make things more interesting.
Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing a reading vlog for the 72 Hours in the Smut Den Readathon. Alright, before I get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what is a romance book you have read recently. So yes, technically it is actually Friday night at 5:30. This readathon's technically been going on for a day now, but on one hand, I wanted to finish the book I was in the middle of, and then on the other hand, this morning I got really sucked into a fanfic that I was reading. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. So I kind of have a late start going, but you know, it's not that big a deal. It's a readathon. You can kind of self-pace. Anyway, if you are unaware of how this readathon works, it is being hosted by the Late Night Crew, as well as Brie at 4 Paws in a Book and Michelle at Michelle's Library. All of the hosts are linked in the description down below. Definitely recommend following them. This is the second Smut Den readathon they're doing. Of course, I had to partake because I had so much fun doing this last year. Basically, you have 2 prompt wheels, one for the light side and one for the dark side. You spin them and then you find a book based off that prompt. There are a few additional rules with the wheels, but I don't really think they're gonna play too big a part in this video, honestly. I knew I was gonna partake in this readathon from the beginning, so I did do a single spin in my TBR to figure out at least one book that I am reading, which came out to be For You and No One Else by Ronnie Lauren. I figured this would probably happen because this could apply to many prompts on the light wheel, and also I wanted to buddy read it with Michelle. However, once I finished both my fanfic and the other book I was reading this morning, Michelle was not ready to start this yet, so I went ahead and started into Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail after I spun a 3+ word title, I think it was. This is the second book in the Brightfall series. The first one was Delilah Green Doesn't Care, which I think I read last year. I definitely really enjoyed Delilah, largely because of Delilah's personality, and in this one I can also say I adore Delilah's personality so much. Whenever I spun this, I ended up downloading the audiobook from my library and listening to it while I was at work, so I am currently actually I'm further than this. I'm currently 173 pages into this and I am enjoying it. So in this one, obviously, we are following Astrid, who is the pinnacle of type A personality. However, after the events of the first book, she's trying to work on herself. She's trying to improve. Namely, she is trying to get herself further away from her mother because she has realized her mother is a big influence in why she acts that way. She doesn't particularly like it. That definitely comes out whenever she meets our other main character, Jordan. Unfortunately for Jordan, she ends up spilling coffee all over Astrid in her favorite dress, makes her fall over and break her favorite set of high heels on the same day where Astrid is supposed to be going to this giant job. She is an interior designer and is working to help restore this old inn, and this is all going to be filmed and put on a TV show. Astrid was a little stressed and absolutely flips out on Jordan. So right out of the get-go, we have poor first impressions, and then come to find out, Jordan is the granddaughter of this inn, and she is also the lead carpenter, is desperate to try and turn this inn around and also make it stay true to the homey feel Jordan has come to associate it with, while Astrid is just trying to do a good job so her business can succeed. I've been having so much fun with this right out of the get-go. I'm usually not somebody who cares about house renovation shows. They've just never interested in me, so that element isn't my favorite, but it does lead to some entertaining situations, and because of the tension between these two, other people automatically take notice, including the film crew, who tries to play it up and put them in situations where they can kind of work off of that. For example, whenever they're demolishing one of the rooms, Jordan teaches Astrid how to swing a sledgehammer into a bunch of cabinets, basically, which is so simple, but was very entertaining. I should also mention that Astrid, when this book starts, does not consider herself attracted to women, which adds a little bit of queer panic in there, and that's very fun. I always love seeing that. Jordan's also dealing with some other drama apart from just the end. Apparently her previous relationship ended quite negatively, and I do want to give a little heads up that her previous significant other did suffer from cancer, so that also is an element in the story that's pretty heavy. So between poor first impression, forced proximity gay panic. I've been all over this. We also see more of the characters that we originally met in Delilah, including Delilah and Claire. They're still adorable. I also like seeing Delilah and Astrid slowly trying to improve their stepsister bond. And then we're also seeing a lot more of Iris, who is going to be the main character in the last book in this trilogy. And I can't wait because Iris is probably my favorite. She is hilarious. No filter at all, which at times, girl, I feel you. I am working on this one, but Michelle texted me a little bit ago and told me that she is ready to start into For You and No One Else. Seeing as how I own this one, I'm gonna try and physically read this a little bit more because I want to annotate it. I'm not really sure how this is gonna go, on whether or not I'm gonna try and split my time between these, or since I'm buddy reading this, I might try and push through it a little bit more so I'm not being a pain to Michelle. I don't know how this is gonna go. We'll figure it out along the way. Hi, my beautiful peoples. I'm just doing a really fast update because I've started into For You and No One Else. This love interest is literally described exactly like Josh. Everything we've learned about him so far is literally my boyfriend, and it's weird. Descriptions, his hair, his clothing choice, his personality, his job, everything is Josh. I'm probably gonna love this. My beautiful peoples. So it's Saturday. It's currently about 4 o'clock and I have made a lot of progress. So first off, I am currently around like 200 pages into For You and No One Else. I am definitely enjoying it. There's some sort of tension going on. They're kind of friends with benefits now, and I don't really like how that's being handled either. On one hand, it's like, yeah, that's fair, but on the other hand, it's like, this is not a complete open line of communication to everyone being affected by this, and I don't appreciate that. And then also, this is something that's so freaking specific, but Beckham is described as having 2 sleeves of tattoos, and for some freaking reason, the female main character, 𝗖cie, keeps commenting that she wants to like lick or bite his tattoos, so much so that it's cringy. It's like, okay, girl, I get it, you like his tattoos, but anyway, yeah, I'm enjoying it, but like there are definitely some things in this one that are bugging me way more than anything else ever did in the 2 previous books, which is really unfortunate when Beckham is kind of the perfect love interest for me in a book. As you guys saw in some of my b-roll, my dad and I were painting my master bedroom today, but because of that, I definitely could listen to some of my audiobook. However, since I own For You and No One Else physically and I've been annotating it, I didn't want to listen to the audiobook when I also want to annotate it, because even when I'm listening to the audiobook of it, I'll have the book on hand so I can go in and put in a flag or underline something if I want to, and that just would have been a real hassle to do while trying to paint. So rather, I ended up finishing out Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, and I really enjoyed that one as well. It was very cute. Astrid on the whole ended up becoming a very likable character. I just really appreciated the development she went through. I also really enjoyed Jordan. I really liked getting to see how her experiences and her prior relationship affected her so much and how she grew from that. Just on both sides, I felt like the characters had really solid growth. As far as their romance went, completely sold on it. Jordan was swoony as hell. I will say something weird with the audiobook. It's a single narrator who does voices for both characters. Fine, no problem, especially seeing as how they're both women. Not really an issue. The thing that was weird though is she would have her voice sound one way for Astrid when she was in her own perspective, and a different way for Astrid when she was in Jordan's perspective. And then eventually I realized she did the same thing for Jordan too, which was just very odd and kind of made it hard to keep straight who was talking during dialogue at times. I also liked how the 3rd act breakup happened. I felt like it worked very well with the setup we had, and with both the character creations, it didn't seem too dramatic and over the top, and there was an external force that caused that breakup, or like was the pushing point of their breakup. And so I liked how that was handled, just because it kind of felt more natural to the events of the story. So after I finished Astrid Parker, I needed another audiobook because we were still painting. So I ended up deciding to do another spin, and I came up with Readathon. I went with my backup pick, which was something else from my TBR called Tiny Imperfections. I don't remember either of the authors' names, but there were 2 authors. I got about an hour into the audiobook, and I just was not vibing with this. The writing style just was not for me. There was a full-out monologue info dump about the female main character's entire backstory. Did not like that. Don't really appreciate it. It just felt so disingenuous that this woman is like remembering that one time where she told her best friend the whole life story she's had, background drama with her mother and her aunt, her accidental pregnancy, the issue with her daughter's biological father, all of that drama. It just, oh my god, I hated how that was all just dumped on us. Then this weirdly felt very snotty, prestigious, like the character was looking down her nose at people, while at the same time mocking people for being like that, because the main character is a admissions officer for a very highly prestigious private school in San Francisco. So she's mocking all of these parents for being that sort of person, while at the same time feeling like that sort of person. And I'm bummed because this was something I'd never heard anybody talk about, and it sounded kind of interesting. So after like an hour, I decided to DNF it and did another spin. Came up with illustrated cover. My choices for illustrated cover that I had on my slightly planned TBR were all physical books. So I kind of just scrolled through my Goodreads until I found another illustrated cover book and ended up stumbling onto Life's Too Short by 𝗖cieः𝘁𝘁. This is the 3rd book in her Friend Zone series, which my friend Kat absolutely loves. I've heard some people talk about the Friend Zone series. I've heard very mixed things. For the 1st book, I've heard a lot of negatives, particularly in how the author handles pregnancy. And after an issue I had with that same trope in Yours Truly by the author, and because of that I just was like, you know, I'm not gonna try and read Friend Zone. I just don't see this going well. So I'll just go ahead and jump to the 3rd book, which is Kat's favorite anyway, and I'm like an hour and a half in, already loving it. It's going pretty well. I think 𝗖cieः𝘁𝘁 writes humor incredibly well. We have our female main character Vanessa, I want to say. Traffic circle, you don't just stop, you keep it moving. Vanessa is a travel YouTuber, and unfortunately for her, has recently become a foster parent after her 19-year-old sister dumped her child on her and then went on a bender. Now, obviously, she can't really travel, which is affecting her job, and is also trying to care for an infant, which she was not expecting. And then, 3rd thing, apparently women in her family all die before they're 30. Awesome. That's gonna be a little depressing, I can tell. I finally hit the point where it's kind of explained that in their family, the women suffer from ALS. On one hand, I could see somebody complaining that that's sort of a spoiler, but on the other hand, I'm giving people a heads up for that because my dad has Parkinson's. That is a hard thing for me to read about. So I can totally understand how somebody else would have a very hard time reading about a character who has ALS, who's very young. Then on the other side, we have our dude, who I'm gonna be very honest with y'all, I don't remember his name. Bearded, tall, hotshot criminal defense lawyer, which is interesting, especially because as somebody who consumes a lot of crime media, defense lawyers tend to be put in a negative light. But thus far, I do like him. He's sort of married to his job, ends up helping out Vanessa one day with the baby, and they sort of strike up a friendship. And right from the get-go, Vanessa's very honest with him. She says, I don't date people. It's not gonna happen. I know I'm gonna die by the time I'm 30, so nothing's gonna happen there. Anyway, yeah, and now, as you can see, I'm in the car. My dad and I finished painting for the day. We got the ceiling completely finished, and then there is 4 big windows in that room, and so we painted like all of the trim area around those. It took a while, so not as much done today as I would like, but we're probably gonna continue working on it on Monday, seeing as how that's Memorial Day. But yeah, it's really hot and I need to go into the library, so I will talk to y'all again later, hopefully. I'm sorry this was a super long update. I really hope I can talk to y'all again so I don't have to do another one of these. Hello again, gorgeous people. So I got to the library, I finished filming that clip, and the library closed like 30 minutes prior. Annoying, but anyway. So I'm gonna continue listening to Life is Too Short by 𝗖cieः𝘁 while I'm driving over to Josh's. And then I figured now I can actually showcase to you guys that I've been working on For You and No One Else, and I've been annotating it, and we do have a fair amount of annotations. This is very cute and funny. I have a lot of pinks and yellows, which is great. There's also so much good sexual tension, but like, I do want to mention, I feel as though this is a little too lust focused. I would like a little bit more chemistry that isn't in the bedroom. So while I will be audibly listening to Life is Too Short, I'm going to be physically reading this. Hopefully I'm taking it with me. Here's hoping that I will actually get some reading done while I'm at Josh's. We don't have any plans. He's been feeling under the weather, and then I'm super wiped from painting today, so we're probably just gonna lay around. We were talking about maybe watching a new movie. I don't know. We'll see. This is just a really fast update to tell y'all that I'm going over to Josh's, and I probably won't talk to you again until tomorrow. Hello, my cinnamon rolls. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It's Monday night. Yeah. I ended up actually staying the night at Josh's on Sunday also. We basically did absolutely nothing, and I was just way too comfortable laying in bed to move. I didn't care. With that, we did watch many movies. We watched the new Renfield, which was fantastic. It's very Tucker and Dale versus Evil energy, if anybody has seen that. It's like comedy, but horrific. However, the underlying message is super wholesome. We also watched the new Shazam movie, which unfortunately was sort of sent out to die if you know anything about what's going on with the DC universe. However, it was still pretty fun. I like the Shazam movies, and you know, I think they did some really solid jokes in this one. Plus, I just love that there was so much Greek mythology going on in it. We also watched Cocaine Bear, which was a time. It was a movie. It was a movie that I watched, and it was strange. And then I forced Josh to watch like 3 rom-coms, technically 4 because we watched like half of the second Princess Diaries movie. So apart from that though, I did finish out For You and No One Else. Have many tabs on this. Unfortunately, I do think this was a bit of a letdown for the end of the series. I just didn't love this as much as the first 2. I didn't really feel the chemistry between these 2 as much as I did in the first book or in the second. The main trope in this is friends with benefits, which it's a shame that I didn't really like how it was handled in this book because I did appreciate how the author handled it in the first book. But this one, I don't know, just the way it was laid out didn't really work for me. The perspective Beckham had on relationships did bug me. And then just the back and forth 𝗖cie had in regards to her feelings for Beckham was a little tiresome to watch. This is pretty spicy. There is good sexual tension across the board, but I didn't really love the romance in this. Then at the epilogue, oh my god. The epilogue is pretty original in the fact that Ronnie Lauren kind of does a summary of different things throughout their lives. Here's 𝗖cie shutting down her dating profile. Here is a receipt that Beckham has when he gets 𝗖cie's name tattooed on his chest, and oh, I don't like that. That is so cringy. Why did she have to go there? It was entertaining to me in the fact that Beckham in personality and in description was so like Josh that I did really enjoy him. And there's this additional element in his background where he sort of escaped a cult, and I thought that was very interesting, but it took a long time for us to really dive into it, unfortunately. As far as I'm aware, my boyfriend was never in a cult. Anyway, back to my original thing with the tattoo on the chest. When I read that, I immediately made Josh Pinky promise me he would never do that because, I'm sorry, just no. Yeah, I don't know. It's a shame. I loved the friendship elements. I think the sexual tension was fantastic. I really liked Beckham. On the whole, this one was kind of a letdown compared to the 2 previous books that I gave 5 stars. I am going to keep it on my shelves though because there were some moments I really liked and there were a few quotes here and there that I enjoyed. And then again, the fact that Beckham is like literally just like my boyfriend, it was too weird. So I can't get rid of this book. I also continued reading Life is Too Short. I am about 45% into the audiobook here, and I'm also really enjoying this one. It's not miscommunication, I guess it's more of a lack of communication in the fact that Vanessa is aware of her possible health diagnosis, but because of how she's handling that situation in her life, she doesn't know for sure on whether or not she actually does have ALS, yet she doesn't really tell Adrian this, and because of that, Adrian is starting to actually have feelings for her and is thinking like, oh, maybe I can kind of convince her to push against the whole not dating thing. But the reason she doesn't date is because she believes she has a very close expiration date. So I'm not a big fan of how the lack of communication is being handled with that. Plus, why is like everything terrible going on with Vanessa? I'm used to authors tending to have like one dark element going on with each character, but in this one, it's like so much focus is on Vanessa. It's a little too much, it's a little outrageous. Whereas on the opposite side, Adrian's is like, he doesn't like his mom's new husband, which is such small potatoes in comparison to the ALS. Vanessa taking care of her drug addict 19-year-old sister's baby, to her father being a hoarder. Like, there's just so much going on in her life. It seems a little too unrealistic, and then it's making me just not care at all about any of Adrian's problems by comparison. I think the author just could have like picked maybe one, possibly two of these things. I think the dad being a hoarder situation could honestly be removed. It's a romance book. Like, I know you need something to ground it and make it a little bit more realistic, but I mean, it's still a romance. Like, I want this to be an escape story, not completely and utterly depressing, apart from these two possibly getting together, which at that point, like, they're not even getting together. They're just like best friends. I do like that Adrian has such a strong relationship with Grace, also the child. I'm liking it, but I don't know if it's really a new favorite or anything. As I said, today is Monday. I spent all of yesterday at Josh's, and then today we went back to my new house and continued painting in the master bedroom. We completed one entire wall and we started on another wall. So much work. I am very drained. I also just didn't sleep great last night, so I'm really tired. Officially rounding out Smut Den, I didn't read 3 books like I did last year, but I read 2.5. Pretty strong numbers. I'm not gonna complain about that. Oh, I guess I read like 2 3/4 because I did read a little bit into one other book, which I ended up DNFing. I at least got that book off my TBR. All right, guys, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials as well as a few ways you can support me linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!